This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, we have a three-time guest on here today. In fact, I've had a number of the Friday the 13th folks on here. Nancy McLaughlin of Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, has been on here 3 times. Well, we're going to go back to a new beginning because we have the lovely, the beautiful, the gorgeous Debi Sue Voorhees, a.k.a. Tina, on here with me today for the 3rd time. How do you do, Debi Sue?
I'm terrific, Greg. So thankful that you're having me back.
And you know what, folks? I gotta say this. She was in such a hurry to talk to me, she come on a day early, even though I wasn't here.
This is so true.
I get this note like, I'm waiting. I'm like, holy cow, I was asleep.
Hey, at least you know you're loved.
There you go. No, that was just funny, but no, I'm glad to have you on here, and all is great. And I've had you. This is your 3rd time on, but I've interviewed 6 of you from Part 5. So,
Wow.
Oh yeah. So hoping to get you folks come down here to out here to Canada. One of the. You know what? It's funny. Until last November, I never left New Brunswick.
Oh,
but
wow.
One of the
I remember us talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, one of the actresses that I interviewed from Canada, I've had on twice, she said, "What's stopping you?" And she invited me to Horrorama in Toronto, and she wanted me to be her assistant at her table. And I was like, I can't turn that down.
Was that Tiffany? I know she's in Canada.
No, that was Lisa Langlois.
Oh, okay. Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, she's in Class of 1984, which another movie I've interviewed 5 people from. And
I want to see that one. And is it good?
I love it. It's my favorite Canadian film. It's very violent, though. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would love to see that.
Oh, Roddy McDowell's a standout in it. But Lisa plays, well, there's a gang in it threatening this school, and she's the one female in the gang. And I seen that way back in the 80s. So to call her my friend, somebody that I spent a lot of time in Toronto just hanging out with, you know, that was cool. And I met a lot of, like her and Leslie Donaldson, both on my show twice. They were both at the event, and I gave out a lot of business cards, and got a few more people on my show just from that. So I'm going back again in a couple of weeks.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I'm going to see Lisa, and we're going to do some things together, and I'm going to go to the event and see if I can pick up some more potential guests for my show. I'm sure I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm quite excited.
Cool.
Yeah. But, yeah, I've never done that before, and I had such a blast. It was my first time in a plane, and it was just... And everybody was so respectful, you know, because nothing comes here to New Brunswick. So I was like, oh, well, I might as well go to Toronto, and and I had a blast. I thought I was going to get homesick, and I ended up staying an extra day.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I had a blast.
I'm so glad that you got out. Yeah, I remember you telling me that you hadn't been out of there, and I was like, wow, you know, I hadn't ever met somebody that hadn't gotten out of their main area. So was it fun? I mean, when you first started, obviously you had fun once you got there, but when you first started, did you feel nervous and scared about it, or was it just excitement or neutral or what?
Nervous and scared. I'd never been in a plane before, and I was very nervous about it. And part of me didn't want to go, but the other part of me was like, but when am I going to get a chance to sit at a table and assist an actress I like?
Right.
So once I got in the plane, it was kind of like a bus in the sky.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've never been one to be afraid to fly, but I can really understand why someone would. And especially the last time that I flew out to a horror film festival that I had 3 of my films in. And it was really, I meditate. And I thought, I'm just going to sit on the plane because I had forgotten my book and stuff. And I thought, I'm just going to use this time to meditate. So I went into a nice, really comfortable meditation. And you know how in meditation, you become very aware of your surroundings. And all of a sudden, I became so frightened I could hardly stand it. I'm sitting there going, holy shit. I am so aware of exactly where I am in a tin can flying across the sky. Way above the atmosphere. This is not a good idea.
I thought you were meditating, and then all of a sudden you heard, "You keep those people off my yard."
You'd think so.
Yeah, you did.
I did get to meet her in Columbus, Ohio, and finally apologize for fornicating on her property. And we hugged and made up, and so, we're good. We're tight now. We're good buds.
I've had Ron Sloan on the show, and he's trying to get Carol Locatel hooked up with Scotty McCoy and hooked up with myself. It hasn't happened yet, but I just give that
Carol
patience.
Is fantastic.
Yeah.
She is one of the most elegant women you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
I mean, she plays a character. She's nothing like that in person. She's very elegant and well-spoken, beautiful woman. Yeah, I love her.
Another thing, too, was when I was in Toronto, Lisa and myself met a couple of Columbus, Ohio people. I'd had Lynn Griffin and her husband, Sean Sullivan, both on my show twice. And I know they were at Columbus, Ohio Horror Hound. Mm-hmm. And I know I was going to be in Toronto for a week, so Lisa had called them, and they had contacted. She didn't get hold of them, but they called Lisa back to find out when I was leaving Toronto. So Lisa got hold of me, and we picked a time and a place to meet for. We ended up meeting for lunch at a restaurant in Toronto, and they signed a bunch of stuff for me. And Lynn Griffin was saying, "Do you know Tiffany Helm?" And I said, "Yeah, I interviewed her." And says, "She did not have fun on Air Canada, apparently."
Oh, dear.
Yeah, she told me apparently Tiffany Helm did not have a fun trip dealing with Air Canada. I dealt with Porter Airlines is what I dealt with, and I loved that. And that's just new here, and I had a blast. Yeah. So, yeah, going back, and I'm excited about it. There's a lot of good guests that's going to be there. Dee Wallace is going to be there, and I've interviewed her before, and I know she still remembers me.
I love her.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to direct her in a film.
She's actually done a film here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it was called Killing Ruth, the Snuff Dialogues.
Neat.
And she was in that. And so she's very, very aware of where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to meeting her there, and they get other people that are going to be there that I'm looking forward to meeting as well. So, yeah, Lynn Lorray is going to be there, Leanna Quigley, and a bunch of people. So I'm quite
fantastic.
I am excited. They got to get some of the Friday the 13th people up there.
Oh, I'd love to go.
Yeah. But
sorry.
You've done a few conventions just this year, didn't you?
I have now done, I've done a whole 3. For a long time, my convention agent, Sean Clark, had been trying to get me to go to some, and I hadn't done them. But I have to say, I had a great time at both the Texas Fair Fest and at the Columbus one. And I'll definitely go again.
Yeah. Yep. I know that Horror Hound one was going on the same week as Horrorama in Toronto, but I remember Ron Sloan saying to me, he goes, "If you come to Horror Hound, I'll introduce you to your crush, Melanie Kinnaman."
Ah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, we had a really nice time. It was really great to spend some time and see everybody out there.
Yeah. Every Friday, I always post on Melanie Kenneman's page, happy weekend and this and that. Because sometimes, and I know we mentioned this before I started recording, but the stuff Victor Miller had to put up with over the whole lawsuit thing.
Right.
But Tiffany's, I know you mentioned this right on your Facebook fan page there with Tiffany Helm and Melanie Kinnaman dealing with nasty fans every so often, and
Yeah.
I always try, especially with Melanie, because I know Melanie's been swamped with it a few times. I always try to say something nice to her every weekend, just so she gets to read something nice. Because and I told her, I said, don't go off Facebook, just cut off the people that are being assholes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that's one thing that I don't put up with on my horror page is if anybody is going to be ugly to anybody in the franchise, because, we're all like family and like them, don't like them, I don't care, but we're not going to be ugly to them.
Exactly. So, I mean, everybody's been good with me, and like I said, I feel bad when I see that because we got this nice access. It's like, when I was in high school, we still had typewriters. Now we have access to talking to people from movies now. It's amazing. So why screw it up? So I try to make everybody feel welcome.
Right. Yeah, it's important that that's what I explained to him. If you want celebrities on the page, then you have to be respectful to them, because why are they going to go someplace where they're being bashed?
Exactly.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Life's too short to put up with that crap.
Exactly. But Melanie loves reading my comments every Friday morning.
Yeah, I know she does.
And I always try, and she always responds to it too. So So I like to try to be uplifting, and I've never mistreated any of my guests on here. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you've always been kind.
And I've done a lot of charity stuff too. I get a lot of people, a lot of my guests, they have a charity stuff come up, and I'm always willing to support anything any of my guests do, as long as I'm not going over my head. I must have donated to like 3 or 4 of them last month, and I was like, jeepers, I gotta wait and see what my credit card bill's gonna look like. But I like to show support to the people I've interviewed, because my show would be nothing without you guys. So
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, speaking of charities, I know that Scotty McCoy nominated you for the Doubtfire Challenge.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. That's right. I still need to do that. I had somebody lined up who was going to help me with that. And then I had a couple of problems in my family where close family members, my mom and my dad, both got really ill. Oh. And kind of forgot all about that. I'm glad you mentioned that. I need to do that.
I did it about 3 years ago. And I thought, I wanted to get the industry involved, because that's what people want to see. Mm-hmm. And Lisa Langlois did it. Nancy McLaughlin did it. In fact, she had props from Jason Lives in the background.
Oh, I saw that one. That was really cool.
Oh, yeah. Yep, Nancy did it. And I had a few indie performers that was on my show did it, and Scotty McCoy did it. And Scotty, of course, threw it out to a whole lot of Friday the 13th folks. Originally, he didn't throw it out to you, but on the second go, he threw it out to you because he had a disconnect with Shavara Ross, but he got that straightened out. He somehow wasn't communicating with them, and finally he managed to communicate with them, But right. He said he still wants you to do it.
Okay, got it.
Yep. So, yeah, and I know that I had to remind Adrian King about it as well.
Yeah. It's so easy to forget.
Well, Adrienne King doing it would be a big thing because she was the original hero.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh yeah, she's just a really kind, caring human being. I really like her.
She was my second interview.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you see, Friday the 13th, I don't care about the kills. I don't care about Jason. I just think there's a lot of really, really hot females in there. I don't want to see them die.
It's okay. We died for a good cause. We've entertained a lot of people.
Yeah. No, but no, you're being reminded of the Doubtfire Challenge, and if you know people in the industry that you know you can throw that out to, you know.
Right.
Yeah. You can throw that out there. So yeah. So looking forward to seeing you doing that, and I know Scotty's mentioned it, and yeah. But yeah, I another one too was Lar Park Lincoln's another one I got to remind as well. Because Lara said she'd do it.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's somebody I haven't met, but I've heard really good things about her. I'd really like to meet her.
Lara's hysterical.
Yeah.
I think she's hysterical. But I know growing up, I had a favorite female in every one of them, and I'm like, you know what? Jason just keeps getting uglier, but the women, they're still pretty. I have different reasons watching the movies. I don't want to see the carnage.
Right, right.
It's like they said in American Beauty, there's so much beauty in the world, even at Camp Crystal Lake. But nonetheless, you know, when you were at these conventions, any stories you got to share from those?
You know, let me think. Gosh, at the conventions, I guess just the overall experience. It was just really nice to be able to meet fans one-on-one. The one thing that really strikes me about horror fans is how kind they are. They're just big kids who love to play dress up and love the special effects, particularly when they're the practical effects. They and they're, just super kind and gracious, and that's pretty extraordinary. And I've talked to like Leslie Easterbrook. We were both at a film festival together, horror film festival. And she said, she has both horror fans from The Devil's Reject, and she has fans from her comedy, from the Police Academy stuff. And she said that the fans of her horror are by far the best fans. And I I'm continually in awe of how the by far majority of horror fans just love the genre and just love the people involved, and just are super respectful, which is fantastic.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because when I was there at Horrorama last year, I had a Clockwork Orange t-shirt on. And this woman dressed as a demented clown came up to me and she goes, "I like your shirt." And I said, "Thanks." And she shows her bicep, and she had Malcolm McDowell's face from Clockwork Orange tattooed on her arm.
Oh, how cool.
I was like, wow. But that was really cool. Now, Leslie Easterbrook is somebody I got to reach out to next year, because Police Academy is celebrating 35 years. So
she's a really nice lady. I liked her very much. We got to spend quite a bit of time together, and went out to eat a couple times, and we sat next to each other. And so, yeah, she's a really nice lady. You'll enjoy visiting with her.
She was Sergeant Callahan. In
Right.
case you missed it.
I know, she's a hoot. I love her.
Is she on Facebook?
Yeah, she does. She is. She has somebody. I think she has someone running a Facebook page for her, a fan page.
Okay, I'm going to reach out to her next year for the 35th anniversary of Police Academy.
Right.
Lord forbid I don't celebrate that film. Yeah. But no, that I didn't make it to that one, but there were several people that were there that in your group there that I had interviewed, so I went to Toronto, so I stayed in my core country. It's a little hectic right now in the States right now, so but
hectic in the States, how so?
Mr. Orange Face.
Oh yeah, well, it's that doesn't affect anybody coming to visit here, but yeah, he's we'll not get into politics.
No, but nonetheless, I do know that you have a new project you want to talk about, and I'm dying to hear all about it.
I am super excited about this project. I've had for years, fans have been talking to me about what they want to see in a new film. And the reality is, this is something that the studios just are not going to do. And but that's okay, because my film company, with the help of fans, we can make it happen. And it's called it's called 13 Fanboy, and it is about a crazed fanboy who takes the series just a little bit too seriously, and starts going after women from the Friday the 13th series.
Is it John LaJoie?
So, pardon?
Is it John LaJoie?
John LaJoie, he did the music video. You'll have to wait till hear about the killer, because obviously that'll be the reveal at the end. But we have some fantastic people that have joined on. We've got C.J. Graham. We have Tom Matthews.
Love him.
I have a role in it. We have Judy Aronson. We have Tracy Savage.
I love.
We have Ron Sloan, and we have some more people we're talking to. But we have a really terrific lineup. We also have Vincent DeSante coming on board, as is Andrew Laity with Never Hike Alone. And so, we've got a terrific cast, and we're still casting. And we just cast one of our lead females. She's out of Los Angeles, and her name's Haley Greenbauer. And I'll be posting a lot more about her and what she's going to be doing. And so we've got a lot going on. Think of it in terms of a very, like the really intense thrillers like Cape Fear, Hush, where that killer is out there stalking, and but then add in, the fantastic horror kills that horror fans love so much. And you've got our movie.
You got Ted White?
No, we don't. But, I can't really talk about, more on the cast. I can tell you who we have right now.
Ted White's my favorite Jason, and he's the only Jason I've interviewed yet. He's the only Jason I've had on here. What a great guy. Yeah, he's a really neat guy. I was able to spend some time with him at Horror Hound and really enjoyed it. I am going to say, you mentioned Tracy Savage. You know what? I interviewed a guy named Mike Guttridge, who directed her in the. I love Mike, and I'm still in touch with Mike. Yeah, I am still in touch with him, and a great guy. And last Christmas we had a snowstorm, and my younger brother had cooked a meal, and he had to cancel it because my parents couldn't get to his apartment, and he told me not to bother. It was that bad, and it was just me and my cat home. And two things really made my Christmas. Number one, Lisa Langlois gave me a call on Christmas Day.
Nice.
And number two, on Boxing Day, Mike Guttridge contacted me and told me I got Tracy Savage, and I interviewed her on Boxing Day.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
That made my Christmas right there, those two things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tracy, as you know, she's also is a broadcast journalist. I went into print. She went into broadcast journalism, which was pretty interesting. And she knew Mike from one of the stations she worked at.
Oh, yeah. Well, I appreciated so much Mike putting me in touch with her, and that interview's not up on YouTube yet, but I can't wait to put it up. That was the last one I did last year, and it was so exciting for me, And on Boxing Day, so that was special to me.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. And but nonetheless, this project you're doing sounds awesome. By the way, Never Hike Alone. That was great.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Andrew is an amazing actor. In fact, I just finished working with both Vincent and Andrew. They came out to work on a promotional video that just to tell people about the film and to help launch our Indiegogo campaign, and talk about terrific professionals, kind people, easy to work with, totally pro, work their asses off, and really, I am so excited about working with them on the film as well, because then I'll get to spend lots of time with them.
Yeah, well, you know what? What'd you say it's called again?
13 Fanboy.
13 Fanboy. Wow. And that was going to be like a 90-minute or 2-hour movie?
It'll probably about 90 minutes we're looking at, somewhere in that neighborhood.
All right. Wow. I love the
It's a full-length feature, and in fact, we already have a theatrical letter of intent from a distribution company for a theatrical release. It'll be somewhere between a small to medium, between like 350 to 750 screens. And if it does well, they'll expand it. And it's possible they could expand it before then, but that's what we're looking at right now, which is pretty phenomenal. It's hard to get theatrical release for an indie film. But I think this one has some really great potential. We have a very strong script. And we've got a good cast, and we've got a legion of horror fans out there that have been asking for this. Yes. I'm excited about doing it for them. Honestly, when I first heard the idea, felt pretty scary and pretty intimidating, and I really was nervous about doing it. It's kind of like opening up in a bag you don't want to open up, because somewhere in the back of my head, it's like, well, the horror fans, they're great and fantastic, but what if there was one out there that wasn't so fantastic, that was off his rocker? And, what would happen? And, it wasn't something that I vocalized or anything like that. It was just something I thought about every now and again. And so it was like, do I really want to open this up? But I thought, you know what? If this scares the shit out of me, that means that it's something I need to do, because that means it's going to scare the shit out of other people too. And, that's what we're after. We want to entertain people and, have that terrific, great, safe scare, where you jump and you worry, but at the end, it's still just a movie.
Oh, wow. So where did the idea surface from? Like,
I had heard fans talking about it for a while, but I was talking to my co-producer. Mm-hmm. His name's Joel Paul Rysick. He's done like 25 films. He's really knows his stuff. He's he does about 4 to 5 films a year. Okay. And we were just talking about it, and we were actually working on 2 other films. I have a horror comedy that I'm also planning on doing, and it's that hasn't gone away. It's called The List. And then we were also talking about a sci-fi film we were looking at doing together called Star Angel. And we're just visiting, and we were talking about Friday the 13th, and I talked to him about some of the things that the fans liked and stuff. And he's going, whoa, wait a minute, let's back up here. This is a fantastic idea. You know, he goes, why not? Why don't we do that film? This is what the fans are asking for. Why not do that film and add some real twists and turns and stuff? And so he and I decided to jump on board, and we spent, a couple months hashing out an extremely detailed outline, like 30-page outline, where we knew every scene by scene what was going to happen. And then I sat down and wrote it. And, the goal is just to keep that really heavy, intense feeling that comes with like Cape Fear and Hush. Mm-hmm. You know, both of those movies, I mean, you're just, they really move quickly and fast, and, they're scary. They're really scary. You really care about the people involved. And so we really wanted strong character development where you really care and know the people. And, and then, of course, we want some really great kills and stuff in there, too. You know, the cringeworthy kills that the horror fans love so much.
Here's a question I have. You say you're writing it, right?
I've written it. It's done.
Okay. Because you say you got a lot of people from the series in this film. Have you watched all the Friday the 13th films to get familiarized?
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right. Do you have a favorite other than A New Beginning?
Honestly, the first is my favorite. I just... One, because it started it all. Mm-hmm. I think it deserves that kind of reverence. Without it, none of it would have happened. But I do feel like, I really like Adrienne a lot. I think she does a really nice job. And some of the supporting cast and stuff like Kevin Bacon and stuff, I really like and respect them. And I like the story of a mom, albeit a crazy mom who doesn't really understand who's really at fault for her son. But I really like the storyline of a mom. Basically she's a mother with a broken heart and has lost her mind because of it.
Yep. I've seen every one of them. I've gotten interviews from most of them. There may be one or two I haven't interviewed anybody from, but it's interesting because you mentioned that the story about a crazed fan, and I was always upset. Like, I remember in 1996 there was a movie came out with Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes called The Fan. And I actually boycotted it because I felt that it was a movie that was creating, and I know what your movie is doing. Yours is a little different here. But I felt that movie seemed to be villainizing the fans because it's like anytime somebody stalks somebody, they make a big deal out of it. But they never say anything about the conventions where loyal fans come up and, like I said, Never Hike Again, and I won't give anything away here, but there's a cameo by a Friday the 13th. Huh?
You Never Hike Alone?
Yeah, Never Hike Alone's got a cameo by a Friday the 13th alumni, and it's like really cool that, fans are able to have people from the movies have access to them, and they'll take part in this kind of stuff. And look at myself, I got invited to Toronto to spend in a convention with an actress I like, and she's now officially my friend. And I'm not crazy, but I hate it when Hollywood vilifies fans. Now, yours is a little bit...
See, I don't take it really as that. I mean, I think that anything that makes a good story, everybody... if we don't allow a certain type of character, a certain type of person to be the villain, they don't get to be basically the star of the film. Because in horror films, that is the star, is the killer. And so I think it's important to this isn't reality. This isn't based on that. Reality is frankly too boring to put out there. But this is a story as opposed to, it's kind of like sometimes, you say, well, that's a stereotype of this type of person or that type of person. But then what are you going to do? Not, I don't know. To me, it's a good story is a good story, mm-hmm. and we shouldn't make anybody off limits, because then you end up with, well, okay, you can't have one about a fan being a killer. You can't have one about a woman being a killer. You can't have a woman who's a victim, because I know there's a lot of arguments about, are horror fans victimizing women? And it's like, no, it's a job. It's, it's how it is. I mean, horror films kill both men and women. What are we going to do? Only kill men? And then, oh, great, then women don't have jobs. I don't mind being, from Friday the 13th. If I wasn't a victim in Friday the 13th, there wouldn't have been a Friday the 13th, and I wouldn't have been a part of it.
Yeah.
And so that's, my 2 cents worth.
Actually, what I like about your film is that even though it's you got Friday the 13th crazed fan, but it also mm-hmm. plays around with the idea of gore effects and special effects.
Right.
And that's always been a big thing. Like, it all started with Tom Savini, of course, who did the first and fourth films. And,
right. Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, and that was, and true horror fans, they're not into gross things. It's more like, how did that happen? How did they do that?
Right. Yeah, that's a thing that I learned about them too, is that they're really fascinated with, wow, how did they make that look so real?
Mm-hmm.
So
who's doing the gore effects in this film? You've got somebody yet?
I do. I have some people that I'm talking with, and a lot of it we've got to figure out exactly how many people we'll need. But yeah, I've got some good people lined up for that, and also looking at others too.
I'll tell you something else that I miss too in horror films is, and again, I don't want to sound sexist, but I always like it when you got the lone female at the end. Part of one of the things I liked about Friday the 13th is it was just Adrienne King,
Right.
And then get to the point like Part 7, The New Blood. I love Lara Park Lincoln. She played telekinetic Tina.
Right.
But then you got Kevin Blair, or Spareskis, I forget his name now, in there with her. And mm-hmm. it took away the scare factor, and I felt nothing against him, but I was like, jeepers, take him out of the equation and make it just her and Jason.
Right.
Yeah. Like, it was always great to see again, I don't want to sound sexist, but it's like Brian De Palma said, I'd much rather see a woman in trauma than Rambo, But,
right.
It's just like, what made Adrienne King special is that all that quietness around her, and you hear the loons in the background, and it's just her. There's nobody. And when Mrs. Voorhees shows up, she thinks there's some hope, and it turns out not to be hope. And even in Part 2 with Amy Steele, I mean, it's just her for a while. Paul shows up, of course, but still.
I think you're right, though. I think that and it's not sexist. Mm-hmm. It's just a physical fact that women don't tend to be as strong as men. Although I've met some really tough women, that's not the norm. And when you pit them and they're left alone with the killer, and they have to fight for themselves and they have to survive, that's a much bigger win. It's kind of like if you think about you put a bunch of people out on a basketball court and you've got somebody who's 7 foot tall and they can make a basket. To me, it's like, oh, yeah, whoop, who cares? Of course you can make a basket. You can touch the damn thing. But you put somebody really tiny and small out there and they hit the basket. Now I'm impressed. And, when you have a woman where everything is stacked against her, and she wins and she survives, there is a bigger victory in that.
Now, there are a few exceptions, though, because Friday the 13th, the final chapter, I love the fact that, Kimberly Beck really had some things. She had to fight for her little brother. So though she wasn't alone, it was a little different story for her. And of course, her young...
Even that's even a stronger one, because the woman fighting for a child, that's huge. That's even bigger than a woman alone. But
I gotta say though,
Melanie was Shavar.
Yep, Melanie was Shavar. But I got to admit though, I love Jason Lives, and I give Tom Matthews a pass. I love Tom Matthews. Yep. But I gotta say though, I think that makes a movie a little more frightening. So the later films in the series I found kind of lost me because they started getting away with that after Jason Lives. Jason Lives I thought really, really well done, but they started to get away from that and it started to get less scary. And I think we need they need to bring that back. Yeah, right, absolutely. Wow. So how close are you guys to shooting this?
Well, we're going to be launching our Indiegogo campaign shortly. And so, of course, raising funds is a big deal. So, my goal is to shoot in 2019.
Okay. You know what? I got to support this. I don't know. I know of these Indiegogo things that they have these special things you can do, but me being here and working, I won't be able to get involved in that. But I am going to support this. I definitely.
Well, thank you. I really, we need all the support we can get. And if this is something the fans want to happen, they'll make it happen because they're, an incredible force. The fans are, just fantastic. So I feel really good about it.
And plus, I'm open into interviewing people from that too. So you get a free promotional deal here.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Wow. So, did you write all the gore effects yourself? Like all the kills?
What the kills? Yes. And I'm still working on some of the kills, even though the script is finished. I don't have all the kills in the script because I want them to be, it'll eventually be in there, but it's not something I want floating around. I want the script, the kills to be some terrific surprises, because definitely want to have some cringe-worthy, like I said, kills that will make everybody go, ow.
And you kind of want to be creative with it,
Exactly.
Yep. I think especially some of the middle Fridays had some pretty creative kills. So, yep. So I don't know what mindset you got to get into to think, how do I kill this person? What hasn't been done?
Right.
The demented side of Debi Sue Voorhees.
It's there.
So you say Ron Sloan's. You're not running around on Ethel's property again, are you?
I am not running around on her property. At least that's what we're telling her. So just keep it quiet. Don't say anything about that, okay?
You don't want that to get out.
No, definitely don't want that to get out.
No.
But like I said, we've made peace with each other, so we're good.
Oh, fantastic. Now, you mentioned the list, I know we talked a little bit about that last time, is that like a grocery list?
No. The list is a horror comedy, and it's jumps off of a film that I did called Catching Up, which I really consider to be more of an art film. It's black and white. It's taken from a stage production. And but it's about a woman who is obsessed with murder. And I took it to the Texas Fear Fest and was very surprised that the horror fans really responded to it. We had a full house, and people stayed for 45 minutes after, asking nothing but questions about that film, and which I, had expected them to be asking about Friday the 13th as well. And I did do a forum later on that, but this particular one was for Catching Up, and it was very surprising how much they loved it, because they loved the character of Sally, and that's the one obsessed with murder. And that's when I knew I needed to take Sally into full-blown serial killer mode. And like I said, it's a very dark horror comedy, and definitely am still going to do that. But this opportunity came up, and frankly, I felt the idea was too good to pass up, and it's, long time overdue, so it needed to move to the forefront.
Yeah, well, you know what? You step behind the director's seat here, and what does that feel like for you to do?
I love being the director. I prefer it to being in front of the camera. As a director and writer, and I do my own editing, it's an incredible challenge, and to get the story from a piece of paper and getting it all the way to a screen, and all the steps that have to be taken. I'm somebody that thrives on learning. If I'm not learning something new every day, that's a problem for me. And in filmmaking, in my life, I've always made sure that I'm learning every single day of my life. I'm always researching this or that, or learning about this or that. And in filmmaking, it is a never-ending learning curve, because you're always tackling something new. For example, this last promo that I was shooting, it was my first to direct and edit and everything for action and, kill scenes and stuff like that. And so I had to do a lot of prep, and where I shot at many different angles and different this and that, and then cut it together to make sure that I understood, what I needed to do. And then it was also fantastic because on the set, Vincent had already had some great experience with it. And there were a couple times when I was like, okay, what I planned, I can tell isn't going to work, because I had a spot where we were going to have a wide shot, and I couldn't have a wide shot at that point because some wind started picking up, and we had a campfire. We would have needed to have the campfire going, and so I couldn't have the campfire going until the very end, when things finally started dying down. And that happens all the time on a film set. You have all these plans, and then it gets messed up. And so I had to change the direction of what we were doing. And so I stepped over to the side with Vincent. I said, Vincent, this is what I was planning on doing, but under these conditions, it won't work. And in a process of about 5-10 minutes, he and I worked together to come up with Plan B on how to shoot it and film it, and for his performance as the killer. And, I feel like we got terrific results and stuff. And so it's both, as a director, it's both, you working and learning and really honing your skills and honing all the new skills, because every new film has new demands and stuff. And it's also, as a director, knowing when you need to, to reach out to other people, because it's a collaborative effort. Without the collaboration of everybody involved and respecting every artist on set, behind the scenes, and in the editing room, you have nothing. So you've got to respect your composer, you've got to respect your actors, you've got to respect your producer, you've got to respect your writers, you've got to respect everybody. And as the director, you're kind of like a conductor. You're trying to bring out the best in all your artists to hopefully come up with a final product that, accomplishes your goals. And how could that be any more exciting, than to be that conductor and leading and directing everything? It's, it's fantastic. I love working with actors and watching them take a hold of a role and discover something new and a new intricate detail about it. And I couldn't ask for a better job.
We want you in front of the camera, though, too,
Well, thank you. I will be in front of the camera on this one as well. So.
Yeah?
Yep.
Well.
I'll be doing both.
What?
I'll do both. I'll be doing both.
Yeah, that's how we want it. I think horror fans demand it.
It's an interesting thing, because before I had gotten to know the fans, I thought, they don't want to see me. They want to see Tina. I'm a 57-year-old woman. They
you look 39.
See Tina. Huh?
You look 39.
Oh, yeah, right. Thanks. I'll take lies. I tell my husband, lies are far better than the truth, honey. And I love my age. I don't have any problem with it personally. I just didn't think that, the fans would want to meet me. And but once I got out there and started meeting him and talking to him, I was completely wrong. They actually do want to meet me, and they don't care that I'm 57.
39.
39. Yeah, there you go. Hey, I believe in lying the other way. If I start lying, I'm going to lie and say I'm 67, because then everybody go, wow, you look fantastic. You don't ever want them to look at you and go, really? Wow, you've been kind of worn out for that age.
I'll tell you, Melanie Kinnaman looks good for her age, and I won't give that out. But
it's fantastic. She's always been a beautiful woman.
Yes, absolutely. One thing I got to say I like about... would you say it was 13 Fanboy?
13 Fanboy, yes.
Okay, one of the things I really like when you start mentioning people you're going to have in it, one of the big problems I find with today, you get a lot of movies and they got, and this is really especially hard on women, a lot of older women find it hard to get roles. And I love the fact that you got a lot of women from the genre that are going to be in this. And you know what? A lot of them still, like you mentioned, Tracy Savage, Judy Aronson, and among others, all nice-looking women. But
absolutely,
Hollywood seems to want to cast people in their 20s constantly. And it's like some of these people still have something to give.
Right, absolutely. And we're going to have both. We have a young woman who... Haley, she's in her 20s. And of course, Andrew, he's a young man. And, we're going to have both. But, definitely respect for all ages. And, I think that that's an area that Hollywood's really missing out on. Although, they look at what they're doing with like Lynn Shay. I think that's correct on her last name. The woman who plays the let's see, in the
Insidious.
Insidious, yeah, in the Insidious series, and clearly. People aren't as opposed to, people with some years on them as at one time it was believed to be. And I think that blending the ages is really where the key is. yeah, I think we've got something pretty special here for a lot of reasons, and that is one of them. And we have a very strong female cast. I think that's another thing that's really nice to see. But I always have had respect for horror because it really does allow women to take on some really strong, terrific roles. For all its talk about, oh, it's victimizing women. No, that's not how it works. It doesn't make sense that we can only kill white males. And that in itself is kind of sick and twisted. Mm-hmm. We can't kill this person because of this. We can't kill that person because of this, or we can't make this person the killer or that person the killer. And it's like, nah, the doors need to be open for anybody and everybody for whatever fits the story and whatever makes it work and whatever makes it right. And if you look at some of the old Hollywood movies, I mean, look at Bette Davis. I mean, she was a knockout as a young woman, but as an older woman, she made some incredible films that were just fantastic. And there's no reason why we can't do the same thing now.
Exactly.
Bringing in older women, and look at, some of the stuff with like Jessica Lange on American Horror Story. And of course, now television has been different. Television has treated women completely different than films, but it's still a relevant point. There's just so much out there, and there's so many stories to tell. And you can't tell a lot of stories if everybody looks the same and is the same age and size and shape. They need to be a variety of different types of characters in order to tell rich and textured stories.
I agree. It's been interesting you mentioned Lin Shaye. I had her on here back in February.
Oh, did you really? I love her.
I told her next Insidious movie she should change her character to a combination of her character and Kingpin and There's Something About Mary, and I guarantee you that demon will flee.
Right.
Yeah. No, she's lovely. But
yeah.
Out of now, when you approached the people from the Friday the 13th films to be in this, what kind of reactions did you get?
Well, it's been a combination. Some people have been jumped right on board and been very excited about it. Some were hesitant and fearful of the idea. The script is very intense, and so it has definitely, hit home for some people.
Yeah, we don't want the idiots from Movie Guide to use this as an excuse to blame movies for violent behavior.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, yep.
And I'm not, I'm one of those that this is not, people are going to do what they're going to do, and it doesn't really matter what they see in television, or on films. People who are going to harm people are going to do it no matter what is going on elsewhere, because that's something inside of them that pushes it. That whole question, does art imitate life or life imitate art? And I'm definitely a believer in that life or art imitates life. It takes it and turns it and twists it and takes all the boring middle points out of it, where you're, nothing exciting is going on, and it hones it down to, the really intense moments. And it's I think it's going to be, I don't know, you never know, but I feel like this is going to be a really good film that a lot of people are going to be really glad they're a part of, and I think the fans are going to love it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. No, my luck, we probably won't get it here. I hope we do.
Oh, I hope so. Right now we have the theatrical release for the States, but, hopefully that'll change and we'll have some international releases. And if nothing else, it'll definitely be streaming and DVD and such there, so...
Now, you mentioned, of course, the list was horror comedy, right?
Right.
What's it like writing horror comedy compared to something like 13th Fanboy, which is straight out horror?
That's a good question. Comedy is really very difficult in some ways, in many ways, in fact. Actually, let me just say this. In all ways, writing horror or something scary is, to me, far easier than doing something in comedy. I've never understood why comedy doesn't have its own category in the Academy Awards, because it's much more difficult to be a good comedian than to be a good dramatic actress, or writing it. Because what is funny? What is funny? And how do you get the timing down just right? Whereas what's drama and what's scary is much, we understand that. We know what that is. But what do you do to make people laugh? And I think is very different. So, yeah, I love a good dark comedy. I really do. Have you The House of Yes is one of my favorites. I mean, and it's so dark. I love the dark, twisted laughs. One of the reasons I really love the Addams Family, and particularly a huge fan of Wednesday Addams. Okay. Is that really dark, twisted, taking something that isn't funny and turning it and making it funny. Mm-hmm. Really gets to me, and it's one of those moments when you're sitting there going, am I really laughing about this? Because it's highly inappropriate, but this is so freaking damn funny. There's something about that really appeals to me.
It's kind of like, and I remember Roger Ebert writing about this in his review of A Fish Called Wanda. He said there was a woman that complained about the 3 dogs that died. And of course, the dogs all died accidentally because Michael Palin was trying to pick off a witness, and the witness was walking dogs, and he's a lover of animals, and he kept accidentally killing the dogs by accident. And Roger Ebert said somebody complained about dogs dying in the film, and his response to that is, how many movies do you watch where people die, And of course, A Fish Called Wanda is hysterical, but it's also quite dark.
Right.
Yeah. But
yeah, it is.
Yep. But yeah, I think it takes a lot of skill to write comedy,
It really does. And to get that timing down right. I mean, if you look at one of my favorite horror comedies is Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And Edgar Wright is just so dead on in his comedic timing. I've had the privilege, at least chatting with him via social media, and because of all things, he saw John LaJoie's music video, and he goes, "Oh my God, I had the same reaction." And so John sent me a note and said, "Hey, Deb, I just got this message from Edgar Wright," and I'm like, "Oh my God, one of my favorite directors." So I shot him a note on Twitter, and he responded back to me right away. And so next time we're able, he was in London at the time, but he lives between London and Los Angeles. At least the last time we talked, he was spending time between both places. But definitely am planning to meet up with him and visit with him, because I love his work.
He's got to get you in one of his films.
Oh, I would love that.
Oh, yeah, he does some brilliant stuff.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
Yes. Yeah, I love Shaun of the Dead as well. Especially the scene where they're throwing records at the zombies.
Yeah. No, it's a terrific film.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love the one when they, wonder if they're gone, and he lifts up the shade to the window, and it's like, nah.
You want me to tell you what really stood out with me with Shaun of the Dead? The most important scenes in that movie was where he's walking from his apartment to the store, and he's half asleep, and he's hungover, and he's going across it, and you see zombies in the street. You know, he goes over, and there's blood on the floor, and he almost slips on it, and he catches himself, but he just does his routine and walks out of there. And it's kind of like, what really is what going on here is we really don't pay attention to what goes on around us.
Right. I really like that too. And when he's sitting there flipping through the television channel, and there keeps being these reports about the zombies, but he goes by him so fast and that he's still unaware of what's happening, I think is pretty hysterical, because, you know, in reality, that something like that would very much so happen. And it's very funny, you know, to see somebody so blissfully unaware of everything around them.
Yeah, blissfully is right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to 13th Fanboy. And wow. Yes, I'll definitely. You'll have to give me any information on that. Of course, you'll be posting stuff on your Facebook about that as well. But
right.
Yeah, I definitely I'm going to chip in on that, because
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have special prizes and stuff like that go along with it.
We are. You know, and this is something that we're still developing, but one of the things that I'm most excited about is I really, really want the fans to feel like this is their film. That they're a part of it in every way. I'm going to be opening up the door for fans to submit, let's say they're musicians, submit some music. Mm-hmm. You know, you're a visual artist, some of your horror art that's out there. I'm going to let them submit, you know, for, to putting some art up on our sets that would be featuring their work. For as far as like rewards, one of the rewards I'm most excited about is that I wanted to figure out, how do I get fans actually physically in the film? And, you know, granted, it's very difficult because fans are all over the place. To fly them in is very expensive. If I can invite them, yes, and, you know, they come in, but then for a lot of fans, that's not a possibility. Yeah. So what can we do? Well, I want to give people an opportunity, like say we have a police officer in the film, and have, you know, a shot on his name tag, and the name tag will be a fan's name. Mm-hmm. A street sign can be a fan's name. The name on an office building, on a, you know, in many different places. It could be in somebody's home, a picture of somebody's family, could be from a fan's family. You know, giving them an opportunity to actually be a part of it, as opposed to just watching it, but where they'll actually, you know, and we have probably a good 20, 30 spots that we can work in fan names into it. And I want to do things where we open things up as much as possible to include fans. If I have a fan who does special effects, or has a fan who can do, because so many of them are so freaking talented, but open it up where they get to be a part of making the film as well. Okay.
Now, you mentioned music. Is Harry Manfredini involved in this in any way?
No, he's not.
Okay.
I have an award-winning composer out of Europe.
Okay.
Whom I've been working with for a long time, and he's absolutely fantastic. His name is Tamer Sure.
Okay.
And he's going to be doing our music.
Okay. Well, perfect. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been working with him for a while, and he's done more than 600 film and television shows, and yeah, he's brilliant. He's one of those guys who composes in his sleep.
Well, this sounds like an exciting project, and I'm definitely I'm going to support this.
Thank
And
you.
oh yeah, I would love to get involved in this some way possible, you know. And I've supported Indiegogo before, you know, but this here is a little close to home for me because I grew up with this franchise. So
Right.
yeah, I've got to get in on this action. So absolutely, I'll definitely promote it. So
Thank
perfect.
you. Thank
Yes.
you. Yeah, I think a lot of people have grown up with this and they very much so, they love the franchise. And I can't tell you how many people have told me, just how much it's meant to them
Hmm.
over the years. It's their escape. And, I don't know that there's anything better than giving somebody a chance to, because we all have problems in our life that at times we just need to sit down and put those problems away and not think about them. And movies, storytelling, music, the arts is a fantastic way to do that.
Well, you know what? I'll have you back on next year, maybe around this time, whenever it's out, and you can talk about it a little more openly because then it'll be released. I imagine it'll be released by then, huh?
We'll find out. I can't make promises on that right now because we're still in the pre-production stage. But yeah, we're working toward a goal of getting it out as soon as we can. But let's get it filmed first.
Yes, we need to get it filmed first, and you're directing it.
I am.
Oh, you're excited? I take it.
Absolutely. I've put a lot of work into it, and I'm looking for a good cinematographer and good DP to work with me on it. And so if anybody's listening out there who wants to throw his or her hat into it, I'd love to hear from you. And I've got several people I'm talking with directly too.
Do you ever see John Dixon anymore?
I haven't seen him since we filmed together, but I've talked with him a few times on social media.
Yeah, I've reached out to try to get him on here, but he never got back to me. So I don't know, but I was just wondering whether you were still connected with him.
Yeah, yeah.
It's amazing you both had your kills affect your eyes.
That's it. I know. That is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Oh well, I don't know why he had to go off into the bushes to swing a stick at the bushes or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, could they not find a better way to separate you two? It's like he had to go off to do what?
He's gonna go get cleaned up. Yeah.
Yeah, go get cleaned up. You weren't in a hurry to go get cleaned up.
Right. Right.
But he had to go get cleaned up. Oh well. Oh well. Well, you know what, Debbie? It's so awesome to have you on here today and have you talk about 13th Fanboy. And boy, this is a project I just found out about today, so I'm so excited. So this is the first that you've talked about this, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I'll keep it a secret until she's well out and about. So this won't air for a while. So you're in safe hands here. But I'm quite excited that I'm the first to get to hear about this.
Yeah, and I'm very excited about it too. I appreciate you giving me a platform to talk about it.
Well, I could have heard about it a day early.
Yeah, I know, but where were you? You weren't there. I'm
You
so
were in
hurt.
you were in such a hurry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was funny. You got anything else you want to promote and plug before we close off?
I would very much like to welcome any of the horror fans to come to my horror page. We do everything horror related. It's on Facebook and it's called Debi Voorhees Sheer Horror Group.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a place to come for fun and just talk about the movies we love and the actors and things that we love. And we have some fantastic artists on the page, some people great with special effects. Brandy Dixon regularly shares her how to do special effects, with making cuts and, stabs, how to look like you've been stabbed and all these different things. And we have we have, watch parties, we have contests and giveaways, just all kinds of fun things going on. So I very much, want to invite anybody who wants to come on by and stop in.
Yeah, I'm part of that page, and I've been part of some of these watch parties. So yeah, they are pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a blast.
Yep.
And I love the opportunity. I've made some real friends. Well, and like yourself, I mean, I've made some really nice friends in the horror world that I'm really grateful for. So I'm glad that I started reaching out and talking with fans and stuff. Even though I had been a part of the series and I knew the series was really was big and everything, I didn't really understand how popular it was until I started reaching out and talking to fans, and it was like, oh wow, okay, this is I feel pretty blessed. I feel when I went out for the role of Tina, it was a huge cattle call, and I went back 3 times, and to be chosen, I feel very honored and blessed for. And over the years, I've been very lucky to have so many fans choose me as either favorite victim for various reasons. Sometimes it was for what they considered the best kill or one of the best kills, and just liking Tina. They like, her being fun-loving and, good girlfriend kind of thing. And so, yeah, I feel pretty blessed, pretty lucky. In fact, I've been part of 3 major franchises, which, from the TV show Dallas to the Playboy empire. So, yeah, I'm a pretty lucky woman.
Yeah, we lost Hugh Hefner not too long ago. I don't know if I spoke to you about that or not.
I did. Yep, I sure did. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I talked to you about that or not. Any?
Yeah, I really, I had the opportunity to meet him and go to the mansion and everything, and it was nice to meet him. I enjoyed it, and I'm very appreciative of him and for the Playboy Empire. The clubs and stuff, the nightclubs, they really were a good place for young women to make some good money. Help, whatever you plan to do in your life, whether it was to put yourself through college or whatever, it was a great place to do that. And it was a safe, interestingly enough, pretty wholesome environment. It was not people think, sexy. I've heard them, talking about, it being sexualizing women. And it's like, I'm sorry, folks, guess what? Men are sexy, women are sexy. We're all, I love to see a good-looking man naked. Sorry, I do. I think it's fantastic. Men like to see women look naked. Some men like to watch men naked. I like 2 men naked because, frankly, sometimes I get annoyed when there's a woman in the middle and it's like, can you move her out of the way? Because that fine, hot man I want to look at. There's 2 men, at least the camera's on both men, and I'm going, yep, they're both looking good. So there's nothing wrong with sex. There's nothing wrong with sexualizing anything, that concept of, we shouldn't be doing that. No, that's a Puritan environment that we don't need to foster. Embrace our sexuality. Yeah, we're sexual creatures, so we like sex, so get over it. Mm-hmm. Big deal. But yeah, so the Playboy Empire, though, if you looked at the outfits that we wore, and you know, they think they're seeing all this leg. Well, they're really not. They're not really seeing much more than what they saw in the Victorian age when women were wearing the long skirts and they'd show their shoulders and a lot of cleavage. That's basically all you got at the Playboy Club, because we first wore a layer of, it was a tight, a nude colored tight that basically covered your legs, and then you put black stockings on, so men think they're seeing legs, you know, legs, oh, how exciting. It's like, oh, you're seeing a pair of tights, that's it. Yeah. But they didn't know it. It's all an illusion, like the movies. It's all an illusion. And you know, I found it to be a great experience, and I'm very happy that I had it.
Well, you know, you say sexualizing, you know, my favorite thing about the Friday the 13th films are the females.
There's nothing wrong with some sex appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with it at all. I'm thrilled that they're finally making men sexy in films, and understanding that we want to see them take their shirt off. Take your damn shirt off.
Oh, nobody wants to see me do it.
I understand why men want to see it. I want to see it too.
No.
I remember growing up and hearing my dad and all his friends sit around talking about who wants to see a naked man. I'm sitting there going, me? I'm a female. I think naked men are sexy and hot. Of course, I didn't say that. I'm just sitting there going, why is it that my thoughts and my feelings and my sexuality are not being respected here? You're saying, who wants to see a naked man? Well, I do. And you better hope other women want to see you naked, because, I mean, not that I found, you know, my dad's friends were not exactly attractive guys. I didn't want to see them naked. But, you know, a hot young, you know, man or older man or whatever, just well built and put together, yeah, heck yeah, I want to see a naked man.
Yeah, and then you know what the sad thing is, especially if you're a guy and you voice that, you get scrutinized for it with this whole Me Too movement.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, I certainly respect, you know, any woman who comes out with that. I'm a little bit disturbed at, you know, trial by public opinion. That I'm not too thrilled about. But nonetheless, I think overall there's a lot of good things that have happened, and I certainly respect a woman's right to speak out. But at the same time, let's not vilify men for enjoying what's natural. It really is natural. If we're not attracted to each other, we would not have babies and we would not procreate. So the idea of turning somebody into a villain because they enjoy looking at a naked female or a naked male is insanity.
You know, it's interesting because Tiffany Helm had shared a video on Facebook the other day, and my respect for, I always loved Tiffany Helm, but I really respect her more for what she said. And it was a video of a female, basically, to generalize here, she was attacking men, you know, and Tiffany was going on about the fact, and she said that, you know, let's not vilify men here. You know, there's lots of good men out there. And, you know, it's sad because, you know, I've never roofied anybody. I've never raped anybody, you know, but it's like there's a lot of good men out there, and I find that a lot of this. And the woman in the video, I get it. She's angry. But at the same token, I was kind of disgusted because I feel like I'm being looped in with this behavior that I'm not involved with.
Right, absolutely. I completely agree with you. We can't mistake that one person's wrongdoing does not mean we need to vilify everyone. You know, like you said, on one hand, I respect their need to speak out, but it would be really nice if it wasn't, if it wasn't against all men. That's kind of how it feels. And it doesn't happen every time. I mean, we need to be very clear that there are perpetrators and bad people out there that cause harm, and that's not a good thing. But we need to be very clear that it's this is not, most men are really kind and caring and thoughtful, and will stand up and for women, and we can't forget that that's a reality. Having been in Los Angeles, and any woman can tell you how difficult it can be to be a woman, and how much all women at one time or another in their life have been treated in a way that is not respectful. I seriously doubt there's any woman who's come out unscathed. Because frankly, I think the very small percentage of men who are that way, they keep themselves very busy, apparently.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, there is this issue of, what are we going to do? Are we going to sit around and cry victim? I don't see that as being a healthy environment for a woman. I remember, when I was a young woman, basically, being told that, oh, you can never get over something like this. This is, horrific. It's this, it's that. And I was like, the most difficult thing for a victim is to be told they can't get over something. It's not, anything bad that happened, because the reality is it's just something that happened. And, you can choose to have a victim mentality, or you can choose to say, no, I'm I don't even hesitate to say survivor. I'm just a human being with, who's had a rough go of it. But that doesn't mean you don't want to separate yourself out and make it bigger than it is. I had somebody the other day say something about, sexual abuse steals the soul. And I was like, no, it doesn't. Don't make it bigger than it is. Mm-hmm. That doesn't help anybody. That actually hurts people that have been harmed that way, because they're like, oh my God, I'm missing my soul. It's gone. I'm destroyed. I can't, it doesn't, do you see why that's not rational?
Yeah. That
doesn't make sense. You're not helping them get past where they are. And, it's a difficult thing to get through, but that doesn't help anybody.
No.
And it doesn't help to blame all the men. There's a balance there, and then of course you also have the situation that's very sad is, there are definitely cases where men are falsely accused. And, frankly, I'm not sure that I know of anything that's as bad as it gets, because all of a sudden you're completely vilified and you've done nothing, and you can end up landing in prison. And for what? For doing absolutely nothing. Whether it's, over abusing somebody, or if you're falsely accused of stealing or anything that can take your freedom from you, is, to me, that is a horrific situation. I can't even imagine being put in a situation where I suddenly didn't have the freedom to walk around.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's a matter of, we've got to respect everybody involved in it. We respect the women and how they feel, and don't forget to respect them and understand that most men are really good people.
Absolutely, absolutely. I learned a lot about respecting women just from my trip to Toronto and working alongside Lisa. So that was a major thing for me. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't always get those kind of opportunities.
Right.
No.
Right.
So that was good, because most of the people I'm working around here are mainly males. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, it was wonderful having you come on here today.
Thanks, Greg. I really appreciate it. You've always been very kind to me, and I'm most grateful.
You know what? I enjoy it. You guys bring joy to me, and my show would not be would not be what it is without people like yourself coming on here. And it's always an honor to come on here and talk to somebody whom I've seen in these movies when I was younger. And it's like, wow, you know, and vague to hear the human side of you as opposed to an image on a screen. That's great. Yeah, I love that. So we hope to get you up here sometime, one of the conventions, and
I would love to come to Canada. I'll keep my fingers crossed. I'll get an invitation one of these days.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So anything else before we close off? Not
a thing. I really appreciate your time, Greg. Thank you so much.
Yes, we are going to be looking forward to 13th Fanboy and all these people from the franchise. That's exciting right there, you know.
Yeah. Some wonderful actors in the franchise.
Looking forward to that. And yeah, I'll support this, and I'll be more than happy to have you back on.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yes. And of course, you know, don't forget the Doubtfire challenge.
Yes, I got to put that down.
Yeah, I got to throw some reminders to some other people as well.
Yeah.
I want to get that out there. Depression and depression in particular is not taken seriously enough.
Right.
Yeah, it's always glossed over.
I'm really will be interested to see more studies done on it. I think when we get some more information on it, I think a lot will be explained with, because it is a chemical thing, I think a lot will be explained with diet, allergies, additives, chemicals in our food. Because I do think that it's much more of a problem than it once was.
Oh, yes.
Not that people haven't been depressed. Of course, that's been a part of it. But, you know, there is something with depression that I really think has something to do with more of the chemicals around us, and maybe even the pollutants in the air that, you know, maybe there'll be some solutions that can help, at least with the worst of it, because I really hate to see somebody suffering with that sort of thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know what? I would like very much, before you go, to do a plug for my show.
Sure. This is Deborah Voorhees from Friday the 13th, Part 5, and you are listening to Greg Gilbert with Python Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada.
I forget whether I asked you before or whether you've been up this way before.
I haven't, but I would love to come and see your area.
Yeah?
Did I trip on my words or slur anything?
Nope, you were great.
All right.
Yep, nope, it's fantastic. Well, we look forward to your film, and keep me in the loop on that. And yeah, we got to get that out there. That'll be a highlight to look forward to next year.
I'm excited.
I'm excited. I'm sure the horror community is excited as well.
We hope so. I think they will be.
I think so. Well, Deborah Voorhees, thank you so much for gracing my show for a third time, and hopefully, you know, we'll get you on again for a fourth.
Thank you, Greg. That sounds fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, keep in touch, and God bless you.
Thanks, Greg. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Yep, bye-bye.